podcast.
Welcome to Our Weird World. I'm your host, John Henson, and this is take number 2 because, oh my God, the abomination of an episode that I just spent the last 10 minutes trying to record, I gave up. You know how like sometimes I'll just be in the middle of an episode and be like, oh, I should cut that out or I should re-record it. Nope, that's a joke. I literally got to the point where I said, hey, if I screw this up one more time, we're starting over. And not even 10 seconds later, I screwed up. So we started over. All right. And we're going to try it again. And then if this doesn't work, I'm just going to go to bed and start my day over because it's bad. All right. And look, here's the thing, man. I got 2 kids. I'm a stay-at-home dad now, also working a job. And it's tough for me to record as consistently as I want to, you know? So look, here's the thing. If you want like a professionally polished podcast with like 2 people who have $600 microphones plus extra post-production inside a studio with ads for like Casper mattresses or BetterHelp or Chime, then go listen to those. This is a free show that you continue to willingly download and listen to. Sorry it's not polished. Sorry it's not professional. It's whatever. I'm just doing this for fun. All right? Sometimes you might get an ad, and I make all of 3 cents on it. You know? I still, to this point, have not made enough ad revenue to cover 1 month of the $12 subscription that I pay to keep these episodes syndicated on Apple and Spotify and wherever. So I don't know, man. How about, I don't know why I'm sorry I'm getting defensive with you. You haven't done anything. I'm doing this to myself. All right. So anyway, all that being said, this week we are continuing another series. Last week was the 25th Weird Fun Bag. This week is the 11th serial killer sampler. 3 stories of some serial killers from history because God knows there's been a lot of them. So we're looking at Todd Kohlhepp, Sylvia Meraz, and our first one will be of Albert DeSalvo.
Story time. Story time. Story time? Story time.
And here's the thing. I don't do a lot of show prep. I'm going to go back into defending myself for a second. I don't do a ton of show prep. I have the stories that I wrote that, honestly, I wrote a lot of these years ago. You know? And you want to read them? Go to johnhensonwrites.com. Check out the 100 story series. But I haven't gone back through. I just open up my Google Doc and I just start reading. I don't have notes for my intros or for my what did we learn. I'm just winging it. I'm just off the top of my head, just whatever comes to mind. And sometimes there's not a lot that comes to mind, and I'm just kind of left floating in the void of my brain, and it sucks. And then I have to say it sucks, and I acknowledge it. And then times like today, it's too bad, and I just delete and re-record altogether. So that's what I'm doing over here. Maybe I should have some more bullet points for my intros or something. I don't know. Maybe I can make AI write it for me because God knows it does everything else for me at this point. Anyway, starting on June 14th, 1962, single women began dying in Boston. Not the worst thing to do in Boston, if I'm being honest. Over the next 18 months, 13 women between ages 19 and 85 were killed. All of them, except the 85-year-old who had died of a heart attack, were strangled with various articles of clothing inside their apartments. The 85-year-old, I'm assuming, was also strangled, but died of a heart attack before she could be, choked out. By the fall of 1964, Boston police had kind of just let the murders go, because of course they would, and instead spent their time investigating a serial rapist who was going by the nicknames Measuring Man and Green Man. On October 27th, a man posing as a detective knocked on a woman's door, led her into her bedroom, and then tied her to the bed and raped her. And then when he was done, he apologized and left. And that's crazy, right? Like, if you're a woman, and I get it, it's different times, it's the 60s, people were a lot more trusting back then. But first of all, if you're a woman and there's just like a random detective coming at your door and you're just like, I need to go to your bedroom. Come on back here with me. I got important police business. You're not doing that, right? Like, you say you can go back there if you want. I'm gonna leave, or what? I'm gonna have a knife on me. I don't know what you're doing, but I like the fact that she went back there with him. I don't know. It just seems a little silly to me. After all of that happened, this woman immediately called the police and gave a description of the man. And then somehow through all of that, police matched this woman's description with a man named Albert DeSalvo, who was a former naval officer and apparently had nothing better to do than to just pretend to go be a cop and rape women. As you might expect, DeSalvo was born to an abusive alcoholic father who forced his wife and kids to watch him have sex with prostitutes in their living room. And that's crazy. Like, that's like, again, like everyone just kind of imagine their dads right now. And imagine him be like, all right, family conference, family meeting in the living room. Come here. All right. This is Dakota. Dakota, get naked. I'm going to show you guys what's about to go down. And they just, like, that's wild. In front of your kids. Like, I get it if it's in front of your wife and you got like some weird thing going on, but in front of your kids too? Like, it's just weird. So yeah, of course your kid's going to grow up to be a serial rapist. Duh. On one occasion, DeSalvo's father knocked all of his wife's teeth out and bit her fingers so far back that they snapped. All right in front of the kids. And that's crazy, but also Boston. Like, I don't know, man. For some reason, whenever I just think about Boston, I just think of angry dads and just angry people in general. Like, had it not been for Philadelphia, I think Boston would be probably the worst city on the planet. I hate Boston. There's a lot I just don't like about it. But I like it more than I like Philadelphia. And look, we've had the episode on Philadelphia way back then. We've had some other stories around Philadelphia. I think it's pretty clear that Philadelphia is a trash city. Boston, also a trash city, full of trash people. And if you had said, oh yeah, there was this abusive dad who like punched his wife's teeth out and then bent all of her fingers back until they snapped, I'd be like, oh man, that's crazy. It's like, yeah, he was from Boston. I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it kind of checks out. Anyway, moving on. In response to all of this and seeing his dad bang prostitutes and beat the hell out of his mom, DeSalvo began torturing animals and stealing things, in the classic sort of way that psychopaths tend to respond to childhood trauma. After Boston police then published DeSalvo's picture, many other women came forward and claimed that DeSalvo was their attacker as well. After he was charged with the Green Man rapes, DeSalvo decided to confess to being the Boston Strangler, which was the name given to the person that had committed those 13 unsolved murders from the previous 2 years. Although he divulged details about the murders that had otherwise been kept from public knowledge, police couldn't actually link him to any of the physical evidence from the crime scenes. So after everything was done, he was sentenced to life in prison in 1967 for all of the rapes. And then a month later, he escaped from prison as my computer screen goes black. Anyway, He escaped from prison with 2 other inmates because, of course, he would. However, he changed his mind and contacted his lawyer 3 days later to have police come and rearrest him. I don't know why. He was sent to then a maximum security prison where he then recanted his confession to being the Boston Strangler, which sent detectives back to work on solving a series of murders that they honestly didn't seem to care too much about to begin with. On November 25th, 1973, DeSalvo was stabbed to death in the prison hospital by Robert Wilson, who was a member of the Winter Hill Gang that was most known for fixing horse races and smuggling weapons to the Irish Republican Army. I think that's also Whitey Bulger's people. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. Boston gangs are just like, meh, whatever. Wilson claimed that he killed DeSalvo for selling amphetamines at the lower than agreed upon syndicate price inside the prison, not because he was a mass rapist and murderer, but because he wasn't selling drugs the right way. Boston. Wilson's trial for that murder ended in a hung jury. In 2013, DeSalvo's DNA was definitively linked to the murder of Mary Sullivan, who was the final Boston Strangler murder in 1964. However, investigators still have doubts about the other 12 murders, and some people think that the Boston Strangler is still out there roaming the streets, just not actively strangling people anymore. Other people believe that the Boston Strangler was actually several people, since the women killed were of various ages, social status, and ethnicities. In other words, just not a real, there's typically a pattern, right? Like Ted Bundy, for example, just only almost exclusively murdered college girls. Blonde, I think, college girls, right? Some people just murder old ladies. Some people just murder sex workers, all that kind of stuff, right? But the murders across, spanned, the only pattern was that they all had a vagine. That's it. And that's just abnormal. So at this point, a lot of people, though, believe that DeSalvo was the Boston Strangler, but no one, really knows for sure. Moving on now to Todd Kohlhepp, who was born on March 7th, 1971 in Florida, but then bounced around South Carolina and Georgia with his mother and stepfather. Despite seeing a counselor starting when he was 9 years old, Kohlhepp remained violent to other children and completely preoccupied with sexual content. He was horny from, early on. In addition to just spanking his monkey all the time, he also shot dogs with BB guns and killed his goldfish by pouring bleach into the tank. Why? Why? It's such a waste of time to do. Anyway, I don't know, man. In 1983, Kohlhepp was sent to Arizona to live with his biological father while he worked various jobs and started collecting weapons, because that's what you need. His father also taught him how to make bombs and blow things up. And again, going back to Boston, right? And just any out west state. And I've said this before, people who live out west, the vast majority of them, and I'm talking New Mexico, Arizona, any kind of desert climate, they all look like they are running from something, whether it's their own trauma or actual police. They're running from something. So you tell me that there was a guy who taught his kid how to make bombs and then said he lived in Arizona. I'm like, yeah, it totally checks out. That's not something that's going to happen, I don't know, in Virginia. I don't know. That would surprise me for some reason. But Arizona, no, it totally tracks. 3 years later, now that he knows how to make bombs, Kohlhepp kidnapped a 14-year-old girl and threatened to shoot her with a revolver before taking her back to his home, tying her up, and raping her. Then, like a gentleman, after he's done raping her, he walked her back home and threatened to kill her entire family if she told anyone what had happened. She told everyone anyway, which is great. Good for her. And Kohlhepp was charged with kidnapping, sexual assault, and committing a dangerous crime against a child. Once again, he's only, let's see here, it's 1986. He was only 15 when it happened. So it's like, this is a teenager on teenager crime, but whatever. Kohlhepp was given a 15-year sentence for the rape and was forced to register as a sex offender. He was released in 2001, which, I mean, that would almost be the entirety of his 15-year sentence. So good job, Arizona. But then he moved back to South Carolina to be closer to his mother. He found a stable job as a graphic designer, and by 2008, he earned his bachelor's degree in business administration. Despite being registered as a sex offender, Kohlhepp obtained his real estate license because South Carolina hardly has the moral compass to care about these sorts of things, but also Kohlhepp lied about the felony charge on his application. And again, South Carolina is not going to do like any kind of extensive background check. They're just going to take your word for it. He then went on to build his own real estate firm with a dozen agents and eventually became recognized as a top agent in the region, despite a reputation for being creepy and aggressive towards the women that he worked with. Of course he was. Outside of being a generally terrible person, he also obtained his pilot's license and purchased 100 acres of land near the town of Moore, South Carolina for $305,000. On November 6, 2003, Kohlhepp tried to return a motorcycle he had purchased at Superbike Motorsports in the town of Chesney. When the employees at the shop laughed at such an idea and refused to give him his money back, mostly because Kohlhepp didn't know how to ride the motorcycle properly to begin with, Kohlhepp walked through the store and shot the owner, the service manager, the mechanic, and the bookkeeper, who was also the owner's mother. Police, despite the forensic technology available to them, couldn't figure out who had just massacred this entire auto store, dealership, whatever. 13 years later, he got away with it. 13 years. Dude just walks in and murders everyone in a dealership, and police are like, I don't know. Oh, man, we've got bullet casings here, but I don't know. Everyone who could possibly know why someone would be mad enough at him is dead. So that's crazy. Any security footage? No? All right, we're just going to let him go. 13 years later, on August 31st, 2016, Kayla Brown and her boyfriend Charles Carver were hired by Kohlhepp to remove brush on one of his properties. The two disappeared after that, but interest in their disappearance caught everyone's attention when strange posts began appearing on Carver's Facebook page in like a writing style that clearly wasn't his. Kayla Brown was actually found 2 months later on November 3rd, chained to a wall inside a metal storage container on the property. Thankfully, mostly because the police had figured out how to use technology, had traced Kayla Brown's location using the last known pings on her cell phone signals. Why it took them 2 months to ping them? Look, it's South Carolina. They're learning as they go. When police arrived at the property, they heard Brown banging the wall inside the container. She told police that she had watched Kohlhepp shoot Carver and that Kohlhepp had raped her repeatedly during her captivity. When Kohlhepp then also showed her the grave sites of his other victims, Megan and Johnny Coxey, she decided she's not going to try to escape because maybe he'll just keep raping her and not murder her, which is somehow better. I don't know. Kohlhepp, for what it's worth, had killed the Coxeys the previous year after he had hired them to do work on the property. Police, with all of this information, easily found and arrested Kohlhepp, who confessed to the murders inside the bike shop 13 years before, as well as the murder of the Coxeys and, obviously Carver. A search of Kohlhepp's property found an arsenal of silenced handguns, semi-automatic rifles, and ungodly amounts of ammunition. Strangely enough, they also found, and this is what's great, this is what I love about this story, they found Todd's Amazon account, which contained product reviews he had left that at the time seemed like they were jokes, but then hindsight clearly were not jokes. All right. For example, on a listing for a padlock, Kohlhepp wrote, "Solid locks, have five on a shipping container, won't stop them, but sure will slow them down until they're too old to care." Okay. Whoa. And also the ego to leave reviews on these and just leave subtle hints that you're murdering and kidnapping people and just not caring. And again, no one really pointed these out. No one alerted authorities on these or anything. So like, yeah, he got away with it. Another listing for a knife. Kohlhepp wrote, haven't stabbed anyone yet, ... yet. But I am keeping the dream alive, and when I do, it will be with a quality tool like this. Oh, top realtor in the region, baby. On a listing for a miniature shovel, Kohlhepp said, keep in car for when you have to hide the bodies and you left the full-size shovel at home. Does not come with a midget, which would have been nice. I love this guy. I mean, you know, he's a terrible human being. He's a giant pile of trash, but God, man, he made the most of it. Despite making multiple claims to police and his mother that there were more victims than the 7 that he had already been connected with, police, at least as of this recording, have not definitively connected him to any other murders. He was found guilty of all 7 murder charges and was given 7 consecutive life sentences without parole. Our final story here is of Sylvia Meraz, who was born in 1968 in a poor neighborhood in Hermosillo, Mexico. She had her first child at age 16 and then went on to have 4 more children. At some point, because mostly Mexican history isn't super detail-oriented, Meraz came to believe that she would become wealthy if she just made human sacrifices to Santa Muerte, this female folk/cult deity in Mexican Catholicism and neo-paganism that represents death, but also healing, love, prosperity, good health, and protection from a variety of violent acts like witchcraft, assault, gun violence, and other violent deaths. Catholicism just makes no sense to me with all of these patron saints and deities. And granted, like, this is like a mix of Catholicism and neo-paganism and like some crazy stuff that the Mexicans have done with their Catholicism. But like, to have a deity that represents death, but also healing, 2 very opposite things, but, you know, represents death, but also good health, again, opposites, represents death, but also a protection from violent acts like gun violence and witchcraft. It's just, oh God, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, Meraz thought if she started worshiping this deity, she gonna be set. So she went on to convince 4 of her 5 children, along with her father, her boyfriend, and another woman, to then orchestrate a series of murders in order to win Santa Muerte's approval. Everything started in December of 2009 when Meraz walked up to 55-year-old Cleotilde Romero Pacheco, who was a local popsicle merchant, and told her to pick up a 20 peso note off the ground. When this little popsicle merchant bent down to pick it up, Meraz like quasi decapitated her with an axe. She then made a blood offering to Santa Muerte to obtain protection and took the body back to her house before burning and burying it in the yard. 6 months later, Meraz took her boyfriend's 10-year-old son, Martin Rios Chaparro Sanchez Urieta, why so many names, got him drunk, got a 10-year-old drunk, along with her 13-year-old daughter, and then stabbed this kid 30 times once he had passed out. Although he was still alive, Meraz took out as much of his blood as she could and spread it around the altar that she had built to Santa Muerte. And I think the kid ended up surviving somehow, which is crazy. A month later, 42-year-old Meraz then took her own 10-year-old grandson, Jesus Octavio Martinez Yanez, which, I mean, look, granted, 42-year-old grandma, very possible when you have your first kid at 16. Not completely out of the question. Which is crazy because she was technically a grandma at 32, which means her kid had a kid at 16. What are we doing? When the boy's mother reported him missing, police initially thought that he had just been abducted by a human trafficking network, since he had just been seen near the Arizona border begging for a meal, as if this story wasn't sad enough already. 2 years later, his body was found underneath the floor in one of Meraz's daughter's bedrooms. The other 2 bodies were quickly found in a remote area near the house. Everyone involved in this was arrested. Meraz was sentenced to 180 years in prison, just in case Santa Muerte had actually given Meraz some sort of supernatural power. The other members of Meraz's family were given 60 years in prison. All right, serial killer sampler number 11 in the books. Fun stories this time. A little bit shorter, so that's why they don't really get their own dedicated episode. Otherwise, it would have been like a 5-minute episode. But just fun stuff that, looking through true crime history and seeing all these people. So let us recap these 3 stories and see what we learned today.
What did we learn?
Number 1, was Albert DeSalvo the Boston Strangler? No one knows, and Boston police don't really care, but he took the fall for it, and that's good enough for them. Number 2, Todd Kohlhepp literally was just telling people he was a kidnapper and murderer on Amazon, and everybody just thought he was joking, just some kind of troll leaving comments. But maybe that troll leaving comments on Amazon reviews or on social media, that maybe they're not really trolling. Maybe it's not really a Russian bot just trying to rage bait everybody. Maybe it is an actual murderer with such a big ego that they just openly admit to that sort of thing and not get caught. Number 3, Sylvia Meraz and Santa Muerte. What are we doing? Catholics in Mexico with your deities and such? Like, at what point do you not look at that and be like, all right, maybe we're taking this a little too far? Just, I don't know. And then to start like killing people and doing blood sacrifices to get protection and wealth from this deity, I don't know. Seems very strange. But who am I to judge for that? Because I don't know anything. Guess.
What did we learn?
Next week on Our Weird World, it's 420, bro. Blaze up. I don't know. I mean, maybe I will for that. Who knows? But we're looking at some curses. This is going to be a fun episode. All right. Because are curses real? Like, here's the thing. I take every chance I get to poo-poo on the paranormal in some way. But curses, like a lot of them are silly, all right? But sometimes you got to think like, oh, maybe there's something to that. So we are looking at 4 stories next week of curses or people who gave curses to other people. Looking at the stories of the Hayden family, Mal Dyer, Brunswick Springs, and the Delhi Purple Sapphire. Oh, God, it's going to be fun. All right. And maybe, for legal reasons, no, but maybe we'll celebrate 420 next week in some way. I don't know. Probably not. I got kids. I can't be doing that because I'm having to record like in the morning for these things now. And I don't want to, that's a big commitment to just do that all day. So maybe not. Maybe I'm turning a leaf. Maybe I'm maturing a little bit. As whatever. Anyway, thanks for listening. What do I say at the end of these? God dang it. I'm so bad at this now. Tell your friends about the show. Nah, probably not. Don't do that. It's not worth it at this point. I think we can say this is peaked at our audience numbers at this point, and now maybe they should just start going downhill as people just naturally drop off. I don't think we need new people looking at this train wreck. You don't look at podcasts, idiot. You listen to them. Jesus Christ.
This is a podcast.